How did you go with the struggle between the light and the dark? Did you go, oh, I made a few mistakes here and a few mistakes there, but you kept going? Hopefully you've gotten somewhere to this stage where you've got some shadows, some lights, and now we're going to do the really scary thing that most people find scary, is to do a glaze. And what I'm using is that quinacridone nickel azo gold with this. And what it'll do is it'll bring everything together so it'll all make sense once you've done it. Now if you haven't got something like the golden range to do the glaze, you can use a colour of your choice and just water it down really, really well. It won't work quite the same way, but you can get it to work fairly similarly. You'll get a different effect, but you might have to experiment if you haven't got that. So she's been sitting now for a good 24 hours, just drying out. So now she's really dry. So I'm going to come along and spray it. So we want a fairly wet canvas for when we do this. Not soaking, but fairly wet. And you want to have a nice big brush and have on hand as well a cloth, because we will be doing some wiping. So as you can see, I'm not putting in a lot of the paint. This isn't actually about covering, it's just creating a layer. So the glaze goes on. And what you find that this sort of brings everything together. A little bit more paint. So you don't need to go too dark, and you might find that you need to give a bit more of a spray as you go along. But you want to cover the whole surface. And a little trick too, if you find it hard to work on the bottom of your paintings, to actually flip it over, and you can work on it that way as well. So you can do a bit more of a spray, run things a little bit. Now you can keep a lot of it, but then you grab your cloth and you wipe back. So we want to do a little bit of a wipe, especially if you've got some areas where you really, you can come and actually wipe back with the whites. You can try just dabbing it. You'll find you'll get some different results. So it's a little bit of an experimental thing for you. And you'll notice that because I had turquoise in there and I'm using a brown base, it's actually turned a lot of my blues into greens. But we can bring them back once we do the final colours in the next section. There you go. So that's the glaze. You can avoid around the eyes if you want, just so that they stay fairly crisp and white, but we're going to come back and do some more white on top in the next section. That's all right.